In Mark's gospel, this particular account, Jesus proclaims the kingdom of God and does two main kinds of miracles. He exorcises demons or unclean spirits, and he heals physical ailments. You see this over and over again as a pattern in Mark of what Jesus does. In chapter 1, he begins his ministry by calling the first disciples. Then he exorcises an unclean spirit out of a man, and then he heals Simon's mother-in-law. So word of him has begun to spread around that region, obviously. And verse 32 says, that evening at sunset, they brought to him all who were sick or possessed with demons. And the whole city was gathered around the door. And he cured many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons. The entire city was at the door where he was, wanting something from him, many of them in literal life or death situations. And that day he goes to work, healing and casting out demons as proclamation to the kingdom. But then the next verse indicates that he got up while it was still dark to go to a deserted place to pray, to be alone in disciplined solitude. There's a difference between isolation and solitude. In isolation, we retreat into ourselves. But in disciplined solitude, as a contemplative rhythm, we retreat to God. In the midst of Jesus's most famous moment thus far in the book of Mark, he retreats to God in solitude and in prayer. That verse that talks about his retreat, verse 35, talking about his pursuit of solitude with the Lord, is actually sandwiched in between descriptions of the people who were looking for him, who were pursuing him. So on the front end of verse 32, which we already read, people were looking for Jesus to heal them, to cast demons out of their friends and their family. It says the whole city was gathered around the door. And on the other side of Jesus's prayerful solitude, or rather during his time of prayerful solitude, verse 36 reads, Simon and his companions hunted for him. When they found him, they said to him, everyone is searching for you. The word translated as hunted in verse 36, it has a bit of an intense connotation, possibly even a militaristic association. It's a hostile pursuit. It's pointed, it's urgent. There are needs. There is work. People are waiting. Yet Jesus's pursuit did not change based on what was pursuing him. He lived within the limits of his humanity, even as he was fully God too. In solitude and in stillness, Jesus went to commune with the Lord. Studying this passage this week had me mentally listing the many things like I feel are pursuing me, and then listing the even greater things that I know are pursuing some of you. There are needs. They are legitimate, both things we can control and things we can't. Maybe I don't have the entire city at my front door, but my kids ask me questions from the other side of the bathroom door feels pretty similar sometimes. There are injustices to right. There are mouths to feed. There are people to minister to. And yet, we follow the example of Jesus in intentionally slipping away to be with God. I don't know what this might look like for you. I'm trying to figure it out myself. I was recently asked how my prayer life was, and I realized that where I am right now is I'm currently working on a no prayer at all or red hot emergency prayer plan. Like lots of sporadic, help me, help us, help prayers right now, or like radio silence. That's kind of how I'm operating. Not a lot in between. I've got to figure out what this kind of intentional rhythm looks like for me. And I can't define it for you. That's yours to do. But I can say, even with as much teeth gritting as I feel about having to say it to myself too, we are not built to go all the time at the pace that we do. We are not meant to carry the world, even as we are called to God's work in it. To place it all on ourselves is to take on the heavy yoke of the world, not Jesus's yoke. There will always be things pursuing us, both right things and not right things. But like Jesus, our pursuit does not change based on the things that are pursuing us.